All right.
We're going upstairs and fed the cat and came right back out.
I'm sitting here.
Oh, you did? That's something I did. I had to do it.
All right, everybody. It is 7:08. We're gonna get going. Cool. All right. Well, welcome. It looks like we have quorum. I don't think I need to do roll call. Do I? We got quorum. We're missing Malcolm, Mapur, and Yankee Pearson, and it looks like we've got and Renisha. Okay. And Rod. We are missing Rod as well. Okay. So we got Augustine, Unella, Janice, Diane. Right? That's quorum. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, 4 and 5.
5. Yeah. Okay. We do. Awesome. Welcome everyone. Hope you're enjoying the weather. Wait for it to change real fast.
Less? Yeah,
Real
driving my
fast.
sinuses ballistic. Yeah, I got it done.
Yeah. It's like one or the other, right? It's wild. So I have a few report outs tonight from our last meeting. And then we have Jonathan here to present to us for a little bit, and then we can do more new business, basically. So first, congrats to Kat and Lisa. I just heard the good news.
Thanks for
Very
joining.
excited that you all will be joining. Hopefully the housing committee as well, but officially CB9 board members.
Right.
So, hooray. Congrats. Yeah, and so I just wanted to report out on things that have happened since the last meeting. And I don't know if we'll discuss right before this. We'll let Jonathan present, and then we can do a little bit more discussion. So I did reach out to Suki about combining meetings. She sort of got back to me, to be honest, and I said, let me know if you feel like we can merge this month. ULURP is next week, and basically let's hope that we can do it in June, because I don't know.
Yeah,
So
it didn't work out.
it didn't work out. So I just wanted to follow up that I did check, and it didn't work out, I guess. So hopefully we can do it for June, and sort of figure that out. I also, transparent, so I also had 2 meetings. One was with Assembly Member Cunningham's Chief of Staff. I will be honest, I have been asking Dante, can they please come to the meeting? Can they please come to the meeting? They don't seem to want to come to the meeting. They'll only meet one-on-one, essentially.
Who? Right, Cunningham?
Cunningham.
Okay. Did they give any reason why?
I think, it was a first meeting. Actually, it was a second meeting. I met with them in the fall about Vital Brooklyn specifically. And, but it was a meeting after the resolution to get clear on the asks and priorities. We spent a lot of time on Vital Brooklyn. And so I do want to report out on that and get feedback on next steps, because, yeah. But actually, I actually felt like it was largely some good news. It sounds like they have taken a lot of the community feedback into consideration, and I lifted up what was in our resolution directly. So, they said that they are, and this is just sort of in order of what we discussed, they are meeting quarterly about this. They have requested that a school be built on or near the Vital Brooklyn property, given the influx of residents. We discussed what kind of school that would be, and they said that it was not possible to put a DOE school in, but there would be a charter school. And a charter school put in. They vouched for the type of, that it was not sort of a success or whatever. It was like a specific charter school by like a specific nonprofit that has a good reputation. Dante and I both pushed back on that. They basically felt like their hands were tied on that and they couldn't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Contract's already signed, they're already sealed.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yes. They also took seriously that the community was not happy about a lack of community center or community services. And so they actually seem to be getting somewhere with building a community center that will be not city run but potentially run by a YMCA. I discussed the challenges with Major Owens and its accessibility, and how personally I feel that is a very botched project because it is, I am a member there, it is not easy to access, it is not easy to know the hours, you don't get access to the full thing. I mean, you know, it's.
I'm on the advisory.
That's
You
why
are.
I'm pointing her out.
Yeah, no, I know you are.
This is,
Preach to
this
the choir.
is nothing that it was outlined to be, nothing.
Major Owens?
Yes,
Yeah.
nothing.
That's
Just
what they
like-
do.
I
you
know. And I was very
Nothing.
clear. Yeah, I was very clear. I was like explaining all of the problems with Major Owens and how it needs to be under, it needs to be different. And they actually seemed to take that feedback and they were like, we're pushing for it to be a YMCA.
They attentively listen, they reply and respond, but like I said, once the ink is dried on the contract, they're obligated already.
Well, we'll see,
Yeah,
because,
Cross
I mean, the
your fingers.
community is really up in arms.
yeah.
Yeah, so.
But
that
they
pretty
seem
much-
to be like, they do seem to be listening to some of that. It's
Yeah.
not everything that we would want, but
Right,
they
but
do
still.
seem like they are taking steps and doing that advocacy
Yeah.
with the developer, before the ground. So I will say it was somewhat of a mix, like,
Right.
the positives are that everything I outlined, they were like, we're talking. So,
Yeah, it has to do with the facility and the people that's there,
yeah,
right? All the different entities, you know, that the swimming pool, you know, for the kids, you have the gym. So the majority of this was not what was envisioned. This was not what,
Yeah, they have
It was
archery
outlined.
classes, like,
and
okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
the community is up, they're up in arms because of the access. This whole thing was supposed to be so accessible.
we're talking about Major Owens.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, it is still, a work in progress. We still have a lot of, people that's still working, trying to work behind the scenes to see, because this is not what
No.
was the original plan.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that my understanding of Major Owens, they basically, it's like community, it's got community space and it's supposed to be community run, but they
Right.
essentially handed it over to different
different
companies.
It'll be available to the community.
Because all
Yeah.
these other
It's not
entities that are in there and are paying, I mean, the swimming pool was supposed to be for, you know, seniors and the kids and all of that. And so, but I think when they put in the money, whoever,
Imagine swimming.
the builders and all this money that they put in, they figure they should be getting at least some of it back. So instead of the original plan where it was coming into focus, then you have all these other entities there that are charging arm and a leg for their services in order to pay them. So it's a whole bunch, but it's something that is still working on with us and some of the elected officials. The original, yeah.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, what happened to the elected officials
Yeah, so.
that were on that project for all that time.
Right.
You know, so a lot of people moved in different areas, so kind of left it open
Yeah.
for them to move different LLCs in,
Right.
in the place of what was supposed to have been.
And they don't want the community up in arms, so,
Yeah.
no,
Well,
no.
so
no,
the
no.
hope is that, you know, and we're gonna have to keep a real direct eye on this, that same
Push it.
thing doesn't happen
Yeah.
for Kingsborough. So,
Yeah.
Question for you.
Yes.
Did you also talk about other types of services that are required, like postal, pharmacy? So we have
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
really good pharmacies,
Mhm.
in the area.
I didn't mention pharmacies because that hadn't come up as much. We had put the post office in the resolution. I'll just go through the laundry list real quick and then we can kind of discuss. So they said they're looking into widening the streets, they're looking into additional parking spaces. They're also thinking about a cultural theater for an intergenerational rec center where culture can happen. Storage in the basement so that bikes aren't parked outside the way that people have been complaining about. So bike storage in the basement with chargers they're talking about.
But that goes, against what they want to do. You don't
I
want to
was
charge
getting ready to
inside.
say,
the
No,
house.
the ones that combust.
Yeah, so
Right,
that,
but how are you gonna guarantee that they?
because they're like electric charging. My understanding is that
Yeah.
they're electric charging stations specifically for those
For those.
batteries.
Yeah.
What happens is when people take those batteries out and
And-
bring them to their house or
and
into
try
their
to charge
apartment
it.
and try to charge it, that's the
It
problem.
combusts.
But if it's like
Yeah.
the way that an electrical car work, you know, in the same way where like you would, I mean, I
you
guess
need that
that's
specific,
Yeah.
plug.
wattage, yes.
Yeah, exactly, wattage and all of
Yeah.
that. Like you wouldn't plug an electrical car
You
into
plug it
like
into your
Into
fridge.
your,
into your
Yeah.
fridge. Yeah, exactly. So like that, I think that's the idea. They heard us on security and assuring
But they
police.
stay on top of that, they just created a new, thing with those chargers and that, that's coming, that's why Kevin had to come and change the plug at the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're looking at the security, ensuring police are more responsive. We cited the report, and they heard us on that. They've recognized that it's also about who's providing the security right now and that the current providers aren't providing the best security, so they did say that. They felt like an auxiliary of precinct 71 is not gonna work, but they're looking at like what types of security services
Yeah.
could work. They said limited rent increases is not realistic. I think that was in response to me saying overall what our priorities were, not just about Vital Brooklyn. Those first top ones are all the Vital Brooklyn responses. Then I started talking about our other priorities. Obviously, their state, they said limited rent increases are not realistic. They are sponsoring or part of the affordable housing bill that would create,
It's not realistic.
It's not in their plans right now.
it's not in their plans.
Yeah, that's so.
Yeah.
But saying it's not realistic, like, come on,
Not this minute.
it's not
Take us
it's
back 10
possible or
years
not
ago.
able to do, because we've been doing it for years.
We gotta build more power. I don't know.
Yeah.
Talking about the future.
No, sorry, I just shifted from Kingsborough, so that was all of our concerns sort of addressed for Kingsborough, and then I talked about, because, you know, they basically were like, so what are your top priorities? There's a lot in this resolution, so we talked about Kingsborough, since that's state, and then I said, in addition to that, we're talking rent, we're talking, AMI, and, yeah, and we're talking, I'm trying to remember. I said rent, AMI, and I did talk about sort of like homes in the surrounding area, which they didn't really address. So, yeah, so then in response to those other things, they said limited rent increase is not realistic. They are sort of supporting this affordable housing bill, pathways to home ownership, an AMI bill that would reconstitute and relook at AMI with, and also something that includes an affordable tax credit. They're in support of AMI to be calculated regionally. They didn't say CMI, but that's what they meant.
What's
What
the
do
AMI?
they mean,
Region is what you
AMI?
So, what'd you say?
I think region is still too broad.
Yeah.
Might be, yeah.
What region?
I honestly I hadn't seen the bill, so I couldn't like comment specifically, but it's like they've got some housing bill in progress that they're working on. So yeah, and then housing and zoning, they said is a city issue, obviously. Rent increase bills, if we could write a letter in support, that would be helpful.
In support of the bill
Yeah.
that Cunningham is,
Yeah.
so
So
we
we need
support
to,
him.
look,
and-
yeah. Yeah, I'll
And
send
maybe,
it, I don't know, yeah, exactly, yeah.
What's the bill that he's asking support for?
This affordable housing bill looks like a state bill.
Period, so I don't really get it.
Nobody asked you that. I
Just
can't
like
understand.
Support
That's
my
right.
bill and
Yeah.
never forget.
Instead of the person who gives that.
Yeah, so that was,
I'm sorry, can you go back to the bill that he wants us to support?
I will send you the link.
Okay.
Oh,
She
that's
sent me some links. Yeah,
And if we don't like it, we can write a letter saying we don't support it?
for sure,
Cool.
yeah.
That's why you don't work for me.
Yeah. I'll send, yeah,
One of the one of the things that concerns me is the number of units that's going up everywhere, right?
Overcrowding.
And I'm wondering how, for us as a housing committee, that we should at least target to have an idea as to the number, where they are. I mean, the price range, is it gonna be for regular people? Maybe not. And there are a lot of supportive housing is also being mixed in with regular housing. So how many, and I guess this is one of the reasons why I was saying, so hook up with Suki's committee for the city of Yes, because they're ULA. How could we know where these housing units are? Who's gonna be in them? What's the future? What plans they have in place? Because I'm telling you, every nook and cranny there is, and what I find is on our I live across where Kingsbrook Jewish on that side, and a little house, 1-story house was torn down. Now they're
8 stories.
they're building all the way back to up and all the way up because they took the backyard. And I'm like, now this poor person who's right next door.
That's not consideration to the
Yes.
neighbors.
So, you know, it's I think at some point if we can get the number of units that's going up, then we can have something concrete to say. I mean, where are all these people coming from?
Williamsburg, so some of them are just coming they're coming from everywhere. Williamsburg, they're coming from Boston, Massachusetts, and they're saying that where they're living is too expensive. So now they're
They're
coming
coming here?
to this neighborhood because it's more affordable, which is kicking out more of us who are struggling, trying to just keep up with the
Yeah.
rent that's here.
Most important about all these buildings going up in this overcrowding, our infrastructure as far as waterways,
Yes.
electrical outlets.
Yes.
You have to address all these things and secure the fact that it's gonna maintain all this extra you're putting on it. We have blackouts and brownouts as it is now. Keep adding all of this to it and eventually it's gonna become something totally different. That's not going to be good.
Yeah, so, I have better news. I mean, I think it was like mixed news with that. I did meet with Hudson's office, with Hudson and, her, like,
Crystal. Yeah.
yeah, I met with Crystal, but also her chief of staff, her, like, She
Yeah.
like brought the people, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Kristen.
That's Crystal.
That's Crystal.
Yeah, she's
She,
critical.
yeah, I really appreciated. I invited her to the housing committee. She was like, we really want to do that. It happens a lot of times. This meeting falls the same time as CB8.
Yeah,
general.
which is in her name.
Yeah. So, but we tried to work it out. She's like, not May. Hopefully we'll get to June. Because I was like, look, like, come to general, but like, this is where it's happening, is in these committees, and we need you guys to be there as, and they were obviously like much more willing partners.
Yeah.
And you know, I was like, I can say these things to you, but we need you here so that we can talk about it, we
right.
can talk through it. But she did say a few things, which is, they're adopting this thing called, sorry, I got some pollen in my throat and I got some. They're adopting the Hester Street framework, which is a community-informed rubric.
Really?
Yeah, for, yes, but I think it's, I think it is like a test case, like something that
Yes.
works that they're trying to kind of broaden as a framework, for, using it as like a way to think about community development, essentially.
How about talking to the people in the community?
That'd be too,
That's a start.
that's just elementary.
That's too safe.
Well,
yeah, there you go.
What are they adapting?
So they're trying to, it's a framework, and I'll like send this stuff to you as well. Because they sent me, it's like, it was like newly on their website, like the day before we talked or something like that. Yeah, but it's basically something that they're using as a guide for legislation, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Planning together for our future.
Yeah, and so they're like, look, like, obviously so much of this comes down to reforming the ULURP system. That's not something they're like fully pushing for right now, but they're aware of it. They said affordable housing is their number one priority. And they're pushing a CMI bill. So that is sort of a tough,
Really?
the top priority for them, that is for the district. So to your point, like, or like this area, CMI for this area, you know, they said if you don't meet these, which basically was if you don't meet these needs, then you need to move boxes in other categories, and like, there'll be a whole CMI categories of like, you know, basically reaching affordable housing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now CB9 should be able to use that rubric as a baseline. So it felt a little bit more sort of comprehensive. A couple other things. One of the things I raised was very much what you were saying, what we've all been saying about infrastructure, you know, because they were like, what are your top? And I was sort of like, we're talking Vital Brooklyn, which they don't have jurisdiction over. I said, predatory landlords, affordability, and infrastructure, you know, because that's essentially what our resolution lays out is, you know, we have questions about with development on every freaking block of this district, is there a comprehensive consideration happening for services, infrastructure, all of the things? And they basically were like, we don't think so. And that's something that like needs to be front and center, is looking at it all comprehensively, because it's not right now, it's developer by developer and, you know, all of that. And so
I can see if multiple projects are going on in different
Everywhere.
pockets. The people who are living there are gonna be just coming very, very.
Yeah.
I mean, water's gonna shut off between so and so and so, so electricity is gonna be off between so
Parking.
and so.
That's
Every
every
is
end
gonna
of
be
Brooklyn
open.
right now.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 projects going on in
Yeah.
Brooklyn alone.
And with the Vital Brooklyn and other, properties that we probably build, it's gonna be worse.
This is from my kitchen window. I'm just gonna share with you. This is the Vital Brooklyn. At Kingsbrook,
Oh, that's on the other side.
at Kingsbrook,
Where the parking lot.
We have
Yeah,
the 4 blocks
the
on
parking
this
lot
end,
used
they
to
got
be.
the 4 blocks on the other end.
yeah, this is their project it's in process. And in the morning, by 5 o'clock, you have trucks line up.
They blocked up the street.
Yeah,
43rd, 43rd?
yes,
Yeah.
trucks line up, just waiting to go get the dirt.
We just went through that.
Yeah.
Trying to cross the street,
I mean,
round them trucks,
5
is
blocks
not
of
cute.
dump trucks.
Yeah.
And 5 blocks
What's the
of
completion date for that?
the
I have no
concrete.
Yeah.
It was 2025, I think.
Early
End of the year 2025.
I mean, that was happening in my old place, because we were next door, and it was like 4 a.m.
Yeah, they start to be.
They start lining up, even though
And
they're
they're
not
idle,
supposed
they
to
have
be
to be
there.
like-
Yeah, and we're like right on Franklin, and, you know, dozens of cement trucks.
Yeah, and that's without any, notice. They
Yes.
can say, hi,
Yes.
we're building over
Yeah.
here. I wanted to let you know that we're gonna have cement trucks coming.
Yeah.
Just wanted to let you know, it's gonna be a little
Nothing.
noisy. Nothing.
At those corners, the way they're blocked, they're supposed to have someone there directly,
They're not.
because seniors, children, anybody walking,
And you
I'm
can't-
going
you
to
can't
pay
see.
attention.
You can't
You
see.
can't see, you gotta inch up to the truck and
Yeah.
peek around it before you
There's
step
like
out there.
driveways,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so even that would be, like a olive branch to
Yeah.
say that we are gonna be good neighbors from the start. Yeah.
And they're building a supermarket on the bottom, and then houses on top.
Yeah.
They just did that around the corner. The supermarket was always there and had a parking lot.
It was keeping.
They sold a parking lot, build a house on top and on top of the supermarket.
Oh, you mean international? Ideal.
Ideal,
Or East
yes,
York, Ideal.
yes,
Oh, I
yes.
missed the parking lot.
You know
Yeah,
what supermarket?
they gave them a parking lot inside there.
My husband went in
No.
once, he said never again.
What?
It's
I've never
very
been in there. Yeah, I know. It's like a little tiny space.
Right by downstate, there's those new apartments that are there, but they have like the gourmet
Yeah.
market. So
Market.
it's not
On
even
Clarkson?
Yeah.
It's not even a
So it's not
supermarket.
affordable. Yeah, it's not an affordable
Well, that's not a
supermarket.
market you're gonna go in to buy your food. You run out of
No.
milk. You wanna go down there for gourmet
About
milk.
$10 for a
But then
milk.
like also the key food, they give like, I go in for, anyways.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a problem.
We only have almond nut.
Yeah. The other thing, sorry, just to finish out Crystal, so they, you know, they're like, yes, we should be thinking more comprehensively about this corridor. So that was helpful feedback. They have a housing workshop every month. And, it was, I mentioned Kat specifically, the things you brought up last month. Because it's not isolated. I've experienced it. I know a ton of neighbors experiencing it. You know, and their response is like, you can always come to us. First of all, I actually don't think you're in their jurisdiction. I don't know what exactly where the line is, but I think you might be Rita in this district.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get Rita in here too, but like,
They're a little unresponsive.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They're
She seems so nice when she's out and
She
about.
does. They're so
I'm
cute
scared to
when it
death.
comes-
Y'all gonna attack me. I gotta be nice.
Not you.
I mean, I
No,
know,
me.
she's,
I know, I
she's
know
like
about her.
education, she's more on, who knows, whatever,
Yeah, but
I
at
don't
the end
know.
of the day, all the city council gotta come to agreement,
I
and
know.
they have deference, so if Kristen wants this in her
Yeah.
district, then everybody else is gonna go vote along with Kristen for the most part.
Well, I mention it because, you know, Crystal's response to the predatory landlord issue was like, you can always come to us for help, and I was sort of like, sure, but like, you're one office, what are we doing here? So, I don't know, that's not much of an answer, but I did bring it up. All to say.
What's crazy is they kind of function in that fashion, more receptive to one another, presenting them with something, as opposed to the actual community, which is really, really out of hand. Because that's why you sit there for the community, but
Yeah, and I mean, it like coming to these committee meetings make a lot more sense in some ways than like even the general meeting. Because the general meeting, they're there for them to make announcements. There's not much to listen to be honest. You know, we're going through the thing, like, we're not discussing at the general meeting.
It's specifically to show we're addressing the public. That's
Totally.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we should, send a request or an invite for her to
For
have,
Rita, or for Crystal.
Both.
both,
Yeah.
to have a
Thank
joint
you.
meeting with us and Suki's committee.
Yeah.
So instead of us going by ourselves,
Right.
bring ULARP, and you have housing, and so the joint meeting with them as to, this is where we are, this is what we are concerned about. So now you go ahead, tell me.
So that they're getting more bang for their buck.
There, yeah, so you're meeting more people. So I think that, we should, do that and make sure that at some point that we're all, with Suki's committee and our committee, then, that would be a good, idea, and a good way for them to at least hear everybody, both
Maybe
sides.
June could be the joint meeting.
Yeah.
Can that be, since that's the last meeting of the year?
Alright,
Yeah.
let's,
We can aim for
I will push
housing,
harder. Yeah.
your meeting, even if it meant that, you know, one of us committees just change the date of our meetings against the other. I don't see that happening.
It's not, it's just that like, a week out, that's harder than if, anyways, I emailed to be right after this meeting last month.
I mean, we could just postpone the housing committee meeting.
And then go to
Postpone
Suki's
it and
meeting.
go to Suki's.
Right,
Yeah,
really,
it's not like rocket
If
science.
Suki
We could
won't
do
come
that.
to us, then we will
We
go to
can
Suki.
Right.
That's
I mean,
fine.
where is the
That's
unit
fine.
meeting at?
Here, everything's here.
They have it here.
Oh, well, we could have it as the MS 61. if
We
we-
could,
yeah.
Okay, okay. I think we should have a meeting in June because this is.
There's a lot that's going on over there with her committee with the ULIP and all these buildings as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
And, it behooves all of us to work together because with us over here going back and forth, trying to fit in, and she's over there with her, if we can get it together at least, and that was what, we were trying to do at least once
Okay.
every quarter or something, that we link together and have a dual committee. But she doesn't seem so,
No,
so
I think she's like caught up with
she's
a bunch
caught
of
up with a
stuff.
lot of stuff. I
Yeah,
know. Her
and-
committee's like.
And they like have to move stuff through.
Yeah.
So I think that's, like, I'm not blaming her.
No,
You know,
no.
it's just
I
like,
know.
I think we need to
Yeah.
like,
Her committee is really.
Yeah, I know you look
Yeah,
this time.
yeah.
I think we should move to
Okay.
cancel
Let's
the
figure it out.
housing meeting for
Yeah.
June.
If Suki won't come to us, we'll go to
That's
Suki.
exactly it. Because
So you look up and
otherwise,
says, oh, today's not.
Hi Suki, guess who's here?
that's it.
no, I mean, we won't just do, because I want to make sure we're on the agenda,
No, yeah.
all of that. So that's
No.
part of it. It's like, we could just show up. I just want to make sure we're on the agenda.
No, we'll
Yeah.
let Suki
Yeah,
know we're
yeah,
coming.
yeah.
Can you go
So,
back, sorry, can you go back to Crystal saying we can go to them for the predatory landlords? What exactly is her office providing?
The landlord.
possibly, I don't know. I think possibly some legal services.
A new address. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
It should be a bad.
It's a fair question. I got the impression it was like legal services and that they, yeah.
Yeah,
Probably
that's some of the
mediation
stuff
and
that's
all
in
of
the air
that.
right now is a
Yeah.
lot of crazy.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? To start. It's like one-on-one help. Come to my office and I'll help you. I'm
Right.
not like willing to sit in front of a group of people. And so it's everything on a case by case.
Yeah, but that's, it's case by case, but I'm like, it's happening everywhere. You can't
Right.
deal with all of these cases if we, anyways.
And the problem is see, doing it case by case, it makes it simpler for you to handle what you're dealing with, the office itself. But you only move mountains when we unite.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so if you have 29 individual cases for the same thing, put it together. and
Right.
Yes.
That's
That's
right.
be a
Efficient.
fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get the
That-
signatures
that-
required. Let's, but
Yeah.
that's me. I think.
No, it's not. I think we have to, so I think we should strategize a little bit, but I want to give Jonathan the floor. So that's my report out from the last time, follow up. And I want to strategize, but I want to give Jonathan the floor. Thank you for joining us. And
And patiently listening to us.
yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak at your meeting. And you have not talked about anything that I had not already heard standing in the lobbies of the building. With the exception of when this nice young lady showed the picture of her yard, she left out one thing that usually happens once they start digging, which is things come out of the ground.
Yeah, upset their grandmas, huh?
My name is Jonathan Gotts. I am from an organization that is known now as Housing and Family Services of Greater New York. We were founded in 1971 by a name some of you might be familiar with, by a gentleman called Marty Markowitz.
Oh, yes.
We started off as the Flatbush Tenants Council.
Oh.
Mom and Dad said I ate too much, so at the age of 3, they kicked me out and sent me to work. Because I've now been with... because I have been with the organization now 34 years.
Wow.
We are... I'll do it backwards because as the older I've gotten, the better I am. We do 2 things. Second, because of the housing crisis that happened, people are losing their homes, falling behind on their mortgages. We have a part of the office that handles mortgage help. So if somebody's behind on their mortgage, they can't reach the servicer, they're looking to reconstruct their household budget to keep their house, talk to the bank, we do that. We are in Queens Court right now on a daily basis, and we have 2 people in Brooklyn handling complaints dealing with mortgages. I am the landlord-tenant person. I cover everything from the hole in your ceiling, the thing coming out of the ground. The landlord sent me a paper, the state is raising my rent. The landlord's charging me an MCI and I didn't get any paperwork. I haven't collected my security deposit in the last 15 years. I cover everything possible dealing with the tenants. The only 2 things our organization does not have is money to give you to pay your rent and a new apartment to move into. We don't want you leaving, we want you to stay where you are. The packet that you have is our meeting packet because we stand in the lobby of buildings. We go to senior centers, daycare centers. Anybody that's having an issue wants to know what their rights, responsibilities are, that's who we will talk to. Once we were on this end of the world and saw what they were doing, and they being landlords, the Ebbetsfield Tenants Association was nice enough. Yes, was nice enough to give me space in their community room until COVID happened. Then we closed, we reopened, and we, like the rest of the world, were doing meetings over Zoom or by telephone. Once we started going back out into the field, they gave us, Ebbetsfield was nice enough to let us have their Tenants Association office so we could see people on this end. Grandma and Grandpa are on the other side of Eastern Parkway. Mom is over that way, back by the junction. So this is walking territory for me. I am now in, I hear is your favorite person, Assemblymember Cunningham's office. I'm there every Monday, 10 to 3. Last page of the packet has the hours, so in case you want to send somebody, recommend, feel free, give a call. Apparently, I made an interview I did 2 months ago, popped up on New York 1. Apparently, I don't have an opening for 2 weeks.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Wow, you're busy.
I'm one of. I actually do, because my son is the office scheduler. He's got the greatest job in the world. For the last 7 years, he has been the one to tell me where to go, what to do, what to say, and what to and he gets paid to do it immensely.
Did he start at 3 too?
No. No, I'm a mean father. I started him in 6 months.
6 months.
6 months I went to work. My wife at the time hurt her back. Scooped him up, scooped up the playpen, scooped up the diaper bag, popped open the playpen, put him in the crib next to me at my desk. Dad is from Texas, mom is from Barbados. You learn by doing, and you start early. So, package you have, I think, covers the possible rent guideline increases that they're talking about, what the landlords have had the right to charge for the last 10 years. I don't know what else he gave me, because I didn't have a chance to check it today. And I know, like I said, I know I have the hours that I'm over at Cunningham. We adjusted accordingly. For example, once October comes, we'll be putting in the heating requirements. If we know we have a problem building, we'll attach a repair sheet. If we know we have a building where the landlord is attempting to convince people they don't want to stay, we will give you the state's policy on what's called succession rights. Because on this end of the world, for some reason, people like apartments here. So one thing I want to leave you with is one of the two things I want to leave you with is this: landlord's business, your home. You don't have to move unless you want to. State has a regulation that says the landlord offers you $1 million to move, and you say, I'm not moving till my home going. Once it happens the second time, you, the tenant, have to put it in writing to the landlord to say, I don't want you to ever ask me again. If you do, the state considers that harassment. I'm not moving. If the landlord says, I'll give you $25,000, you go, I want $500,000. He offers you $100,000. Now you're negotiating. He has the right to ask. You have the right to say no.
That's right.
As long as nobody interferes with anybody else's right, you're fine. But the minute one number goes out and it's countered, you are now negotiating.
Yeah.
That is your partner. The only people that you can have in the apartment are the ones you want. The only creatures you should have in the apartment are the ones you feed. For example, there is a thing called succession rights, which means if it's your apartment, your son has been there since the day he was born. He got a full scholarship to USC. He leaves. You want to tell your son you do not do anything off campus. You don't drive, you don't take a job, you stay on campus. Because as long as that you do the paperwork for USC and his address is here in Brooklyn, even though he's gone, he's in college, he comes back, it's his apartment.
Yes, and that's a very key point.
Succession.
Success, because I live in a Michelin, right? We do. And if it's the only thing I tell everybody, and their kids and their kids' kids, it's about putting it's succession for every, because you have these young people coming up. you know, they start their little jobs. And the Michelama, our Michelama is geared towards your income. So you pay based on your income. And it's supervised on
So
the
we really
HCR.
have though.
So you have real people, huh?
You have to buy the part.
So
Go out.
we'll take that under advisement. We'll get back to you. I'll give
Anybody-
you the information.
Anybody at the table signing a 1 or a 2 year lease?
So 1 or 2 year lease.
Nobody signing a 1 or a 2 year lease? Okay. So yeah, because under succession rights, the only change that they've made
It's too.
where it doesn't apply to people are nieces, nephews, and cousins. So grandchildren, in-laws, stepchildren, all apply. The one thing I do have to tell you though, the further down the line you go, the harder the proof comes. And that just because, that just comes from being on both the tenant advocate and when HPD really loved tenants, assigned to a housing court judge settling cases. The further down you go, the harder it gets. The other thing that our organization tries to make a big push for is the city says if you are 62 or older and you are making more than 50,000, you are considered rich.
Stop playing. I'm poor.
In most cases, in a rent stabilized building, in order to get your rent what's called frozen, you have to be 62 or older, making less than $50,000 a year, and you have to be spending at least a third of what you get every month on your rent.
Talking about the tree.
DRE is for the people that are on disability.
Right. And
For
then
senior
there's street.
citizen, that's yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay, those are the two biggest things we push for to get the tenants to qualify. I will tell you, in the 34 years I've been doing this, I think the greatest thing that happened was the change in the rent laws for 2019.
Yeah.
And that's because every single tenant, every single person, whether a tenant, homeowner, anything they had to do, they all went to the city council and said, fix the laws.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of a better job, but the changes that were made, they
Made a big
were
difference.
big difference.
Yeah, it's a long way from being where it needed to be, but it did make a big difference in 2019.
We are actually funded by HPD, DHCR, and our entire office are all HUD certified.
Really?
Because they fund us. So I have to ask you to please sign in on my sign-in sheet. Other than that, I don't get paid for tonight, which is fine. 34 years. If I'm out this late, they know I'm working. But contracts and reports are due soon, so I have to ask everybody to please sign. If you know of a building that has issues, if you know of someone that has problems, card in the packet on the table or there. I'll leave them here in the community board in case something happens. Again,
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So the problems that you're talking about, can you give some example of the range of problems that tenants have come to you for?
that I've done since January, I have assisted 4 buildings to take the landlord to court. I don't know if I've assisted 4 buildings in taking the landlord to court because they've been without services. I've answered at least 2 or 3 dozen different court notices for tenants because they paid their rent and the attorneys just didn't bother, the landlord just didn't bother to look at the records. So one of the things we do is rewrite the attorney and the landlord, we send copies of the check. In the event that no answer is given, we tell the tenants how to answer the court papers properly, what they need. what each step means. So when the court says you've got to serve the landlord because they're answering a marshal's notice, that just means you're mailing out the paperwork. When a marshal's notice is denied and they cross a big X through the giant paper and the tenant says, I don't know why they denied it. I'm the guy that usually is on the other end of the phone going, okay, this is what happened. We've assisted people with DHCR cases because DHCR sometimes doesn't have the full story. A guy came down that I had been working with because the judge said you need to go to DHCR and file a complaint. My tenant forgot to tell the judge he already had a complaint in with DHCR that was approved. So when the guy got to DHCR worker called me and said, why didn't you tell this guy to file a rent reduction? I said, did you pull his file yet? Why don't you ask him to show you the copy of the rent reduction he already has? The state law says you can't take 2 rent reductions at the same time. You gotta wait for one to end before you take the next one.
Right. Yeah, because they get canceled out.
He says, oh, I'm sorry. We call landlords, we call attorneys, if it's a problem where public assistance in certain cases isn't answering or isn't responding. We reach out to them, to the office as well. Most of the time, the elected official, whichever one, will have a lot more pull than we will to get a case going. Not everybody is as diligent as we hope. Sometimes they need to be pushed. Because if you have somebody that's looking at a court order and it says the money has to be paid in X number of days or else the marshal is coming,
I'm sorry.
that person has to be able to tell the judge, hey, Mrs. Johnson's working on my case. She's going to need another week. You want to call her? Here's the phone number. You can speak to her. We try to. I'm known in my office as the voice of doom and gloom. I love being wrong. Because if I'm wrong, that means everything went the way it wasn't supposed to go. You get to keep your place. If I'm right, that's a problem because you didn't do something you were supposed to. So I love being wrong.
I need clarity on
If I tell you the marshal's going to come in X number of days unless you go down to housing court and do this, and this is what you have to say when you get there, and this is what's going to happen when you walk through the door. If everything I say happens, I'm usually starting you not with the best case scenario, with the worst case scenario. So if I tell you everything that happens, giving you the worst case scenario, and the worst case scenario happens, I'd rather, as the guy, and I tell people that up front, that I'm going to give you the worst case scenario. And it's not to scare you, it's not to frighten you, it's to let you know what happens and why it works the way it does. And then they come back and they go, oh, you were right, it happens exactly. Because I've been on both sides of the rail. As the guy, as the tenant advocate, where the judge says you have to sit down and be quiet because you have no standing in the court, to, as I said, HPD at one point had a training program where they had community groups like mine in the courts because they knew what we saw every day. And we knew how to react and what to tell people.
Is NYCHA also a part of this? Do you represent NYCHA?
NYCHA is separate.
It's separate.
It is separate. Depending on the situation, I can give you a suggestion. If it's a repair issue, I can give you a couple of interesting suggestions that you can do. It's really not recommended that they get done, but if it's a repair issue, you can do it. For example, if you have a hole in the bathroom ceiling, there's a thing that's called an HP action, which is where you sue the landlord to do the repair work. In the case of NYCHA, you're basically suing the same place. They really don't like you to do that. I personally can't let a tenant stay in the apartment with a hole in the ceiling, so I'm going to tell them to file. I would rather have the judge say to that tenant, the reason you can't file is, and again, I would tell that to the tenant because I want them to know what's going to happen when they walk through the door. It's HPD and NYCHA, which are supposed to be working together, now fighting against each other.
Like
But the
feds
bottom
in
line-
state, they fight too.
But the bottom line is that tenant's got a hole in her ceiling. That's got to get fixed.
The record of it,
But
Yes.
how many like NYCHA buildings are actually still left? They've almost gotten rid of all of them.
There's a
All good.
lot.
They're all going private.
There's a lot.
They've sold out a whole lot of them.
Still every now and then you get a few that are going private, but the majority of night
Yeah, they're
They're
selling
trying-
them out. They've been trying for the
Yes.
past
Yeah,
10
they
years,
take
and
it
they're slowly but
certain
surely
developments, yeah,
getting rid of NYCHA.
Not all of them, there's plenty of them.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of them. That's why I don't know how many buildings there are itself
and
that
they're
are all
problems,
NYCHA,
you
because
know,
they're
there's
like
lots of
20 in
problems.
each borough at least.
They have lots of problems. So who advocates for them? They're quiet.
I am, sir. As the title says, Housing and Family Services of Greater New York, I have to go.
Got it. I understand.
The elected officials are, HPD is, but it's an everyday thing. You know, we are that everyday group. When when you wake up in the morning and there's no hot water in your building, we're one of the first calls we're the first office that gets called. I just took a call today that at 4 o'clock that there was no elevator in the building. So I have to track down the landlord. I tracked down the landlord for that. You had a
Wait, we should.
question?
Yeah, I was actually hoping, and I'm not trying to be crude or crash.
Go ahead.
I met with you at Cunningham's office, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't feel supported after our conversation,
Okay.
and you kind of made me feel like I didn't have a leg to stand on or a case against my landlord. And regardless of what happens, regardless of how the judge rules, I'm not backing down. There's no way in hell I'm backing down due to the conditions that I've been subdued to in this building. And yes, I'm one of the only people that's speaking up, and I don't care. Because like my parents were landlords, I've studied the tenants' rights because of noticing like this is bullshit. Like the conditions you are putting us through is bullshit, and I'm not standing for this. Regardless of what happens, I'm not going to be homeless. I have places to go. So whatever the judge rules, but I am standing 10 toes down against them. Even today, HPD, like I figured out, oh, I keep missing their calls because I have a fucking job. Like, sorry to curse. And so they were like, you can have an appointment. Both of them came. And one of the 3 of the top issues I've had since last year, I moved into this apartment last year, to this day, they witnessed while I was there today with them. Just seeing a rodent cross by. Yep, I've been complaining about this since I moved in. They're not seeing hot water. Yep, I've complained about this since I moved in. So with that, I would just like to get a little bit more clarity when you say you're there to like help and support those going against their landlords. What exactly does that mean, and how exactly does that look?
Every case is different. Depending on what it is, I have walked tenants through the case, whether I've been physically there or told them this is what you say when you get to this particular point. I am not perfect. I will look you in the eye across the table in front of these ladies and tell you, yes, I have messed up. But I have lasted as long as I've had in this job because I go, yeah, I messed up. Now let's see if I can make it better.
Keep trying.
So we got a new start here, it sounds like.
Yes. That's why you heard me say what I just said.
It
Just
sounds
keep
like we
trying,
got
don't
a new
give up.
start.
Yeah.
I'm
I wish-
not.
I wish I
It's
known
just
that.
disheartening to feel like
Sorry,
the services that are there that
We
are
have a
going out
different
for you or
settings,
trying to like
yes.
talk you out of it or just trying to like give you the concept of, well, you might
After
have to
calling
settle
the
for this. And it's like, no, I was going to go
Spear
harder.
it in the wall.
Yeah.
hear them
It's
in the wall.
disheartening.
We call. Walks across the
Oh no, yikes.
Well, I also heard you say something about homeowners, that you also advocate for homeowners.
Yes.
I'm not exactly certain in what area, but would you possibly advocate for homeowners, dealing with insurance companies and repairs and things of that nature?
Possible. Again, every case is different, so we have to have some more information as to what the situation is.
So, for instance, a storm, like 2 years ago, the house has been flooded. Insurance company is involved. A claim was filed, and work is still being done.
Tomorrow morning, CHARLES, D is in dog, AS. He's the guy who's in charge of our mortgage program. You can give the office number a call. He should be in about 9:30 because I don't think he has a calendar call tomorrow. I think tomorrow's his office day. You can talk to him about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sheila,
You're welcome.
any other questions?
I have a question. I have a neighbor that is mentally disturbed. And what he's been doing is running the water constantly. And sometimes he blocks the drain so the water overflows down into my unit. So what do you do when you have someone that's protected? Their protection is very used. And there's times where he runs the water 24/7, which somebody has to pay for that. I'm not paying for it, but
Eventually, this is going to end up in court. And it's going to end up in court possibly 2 different ways. You
The
suing,
question is better asked to Dr.
you suing,
Than answered.
and then the landlord bringing that tenant in.
I have to sue the landlord.
Yes. And if you give me a call tomorrow, I can tell you how that's done.
I feel like that's a landlord problem, not a me problem as a tenant that's not causing damage or destruction to property.
A landlord's job is to make the most money by doing the least amount of work.
Well, they are
Up
doing a lot of
until-
work by
That is
fixing it.
Up until,
No, that might be what they want you to
Believe.
accept or
Right.
believe, but that is not true.
Right.
up
You
until
sign a
a
contract when you
landlord,
have a lease. They're supposed to do their job. So why are we paying if they're not doing their job?
Contract is
Once
the
you bring
contract.
it to the attention by landlord, they have to
because
advocate.
He
unless,
broke the
You-
pipes in between
because
the wall,
unless
let the
you
water
would
run
make
until
the
it flooded
landlord
the basement.
enforce
Why would you break pipes in the
that
wall?
Yeah,
contract,
but has it been brought to the attention of the?
Yes, because they hired
They
a
will
plumber
let
to
it
fix
go.
he breaks the doors, the glass doors, he breaks windows repeatedly. How much money are you gonna waste? He doesn't need to live with regular people.
Is that a relative?
No, I don't know this man. He's in a
No,
different.
for the landlord.
Might be
No.
somebody who has.
The other side of it is he hiding his crazy relative over here next to you?
It could be someone who's in the apartment as a successor.
He got it from his mom.
Oh, he was.
So he didn't live there, but he moved in and got it from his mom.
But see, he needs mental health services.
He needs special
This
services
is what
for
I'm saying, he
people.
needs mental health
He
services.
can't live
So
with regular people. There's
getting
times
him
where
that
he's
help,
fighting
that's
and
what I
you
was
can't
saying.
even go
He
in the
can't
hallway.
really help
He's
him
fighting
down.
by himself.
He needs a different type of agency altogether.
He's fighting by himself. You know?
Yes. There was one night somebody tried to go
311.
inside. They had to go back
Please.
outside.
Somebody.
We've been complaining.
To the landlord?
Yes.
Sounds
think
like
Well, they
that
actually
is that
switched
true.
employees too.
You
So
wanna
I
break
guess
windows,
so.
bang
So
out
not
people's
landlord,
stuff.
that's
One of
go
them
to the department.
He needs mental
I I know, I called before, I know,
As
like,
long as that rent's going to the landlord, he's not gonna.
Tenants in
You
large
understand what I'm
buildings
saying?
and small buildings, not just,
Yes, it is harder though, because most of the state regulations are for rent stabilized tenants in the buildings that are six or more. We can, because of the recent changes, unfortunately due to COVID-19, they have made some adjustments for the for the tenants that are in the smaller houses now. So we can assist them with that. We're a little more handcuffed in the smaller houses than we are in the big one, in the tenants in the larger apartments.
Are we good? Are we any more questions? I want to leave 15 minutes for the last piece of this. Yeah. That's
I
okay.
thank you all.
Thank you.
If you
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's
want
very
me to
good.
come
I
back
know,
or
yeah.
address
Okay.
come back on a specific topic at any point, my card's on the table, you have my package.
Yes.
I thank you all for
Thank you.
allowing me to speak this evening.
Thank you for the
You're welcome.
information, thank
I
you for
got
the
a
presentation.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay. Wanna, hopefully 15 minutes, maybe not too much more, keep this on time. So, yeah, that was helpful, he has to present, I'm gonna give him the floor. I obviously kind of read out the report at the beginning. You know, I feel like we talked about sort of the next priority being, let's get combined with ULURP next month.
Tell Suki she has no choice, we're coming. If she said,
I will
tell
tell
her,
her.
tell
I
her,
will tell her.
Nella says,
even
we're
asking.
coming.
We're just
That's
gonna
it.
change the housing meeting to be at the ULURP.
Make sure she has
Flexible.
Sure.
snacks.
Right, I
It's
just,
all public, so.
no, totally, I just want, obviously, my hope is like, I wanna make it as productive as possible, I don't wanna just like bomb her
Yeah,
meeting, you
yeah.
know, but.
She owes us one at least every other month or
Yeah.
once every
Yeah,
3
quarterly.
months
Quarterly.
well,
Right.
that we meet because they're doing so many things over there with
Yeah.
ULURP and this affects what we
It
are
impacts us.
yeah, it
Yeah.
impacts us as
Always
well.
did,
Yeah.
always said
Yeah.
that housing
For sure.
ULURP should
So
always be
and I
together.
told her, I said, we're gonna meet at least we need to meet within once every quarter and see.
That's a good proposal.
Yeah. Well, we just gonna give her
And
dates.
figure out how to like divide and conquer in
Yes,
some ways,
yes.
you know,
Yeah.
so that we can work together on a
Right,
common
instead of doing
Yeah.
the same
agenda.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely wanna do that.
And we can go
Sorry, one second.
both together to these elected officials.
Yeah,
Scribble numbers.
That's right.
Yeah. Haven't gotten anything with, Myri's office yet, as we talked about that as a priority. I'll re-up that with Dante, but I just wanna, other priorities, in advance of that we wanna focus on. Obviously, we have one more meeting this semester. Whatever, this year, what are we calling this? Term. This term. So we have one more meeting, two more generals, one more meeting. Anything else we wanna do with this resolution to leverage into more conversations, anything else that we wanna make sure we're focused on?
Can you prefer send me
Sure.
Thank you, let me go. Yes. Let's look at it and then see what we can, if we cover everything. Yes?
She pretty much.
I pretty much, yeah, but. Lady, anything? That way we're sure that it's ironclad with everything we're doing.
Yeah. I think, obviously this is, for next semesters.
Right.
For next term.
Term.
For September.
Next semester.
I know.
We're not in school.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like.
It is.
I mean, it's September to June. It's
Yeah.
like,
I ain't got
yeah.
that kind of
Yeah. So for September, you know, I think we may want to, you know, I'll send all the things that we talked about. I'll send the Hester Street framework. I'll send Cunningham's bill. I'll send the stuff Crystal's working on so that we've got more of a complete picture. You know, I think that some of the priorities for September can be honing. We've got a general resolution. How do we hone that to be more specific? One of the things I was talking about with Crystal in more detail was just about it being like housing needs to be a family issue, and that talking about housing as something that's family friendly, because even the development that's going on right now is not development for families. It's 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and then, you know, and then, I mean, you've heard my story a million times, but like, and then even the new stuff that's developed, they call it a 3-bedroom, but it's like it's too small. It's like for roommates, for like those buildings where kids coming down the
college kids.
Yeah,
Sort of
exactly.
like a dorm
And
room.
so there's like not
That's
even,
how they build it up. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So even if
Who's
you're
gonna live in that?
Yeah, it's crazy. And so, you know, talking about potentially building more of a family housing platform, that's something that's taking families into account and not just development and infrastructure, you know, so how do we kind of center that and how we talk about it? So there's a lot of different directions that we can go in next year, that we should think about and hopefully work
In tandem
Work in tandem
with Suki, because she probably can tell you off the bat how many apartments, how many coming down the pike. And then we can at least say, okay, you have 50,000 apartments coming down. What's the size? Where are they? You know, what's the unit for each building? That way we could, with housing, have an idea as to, for us, you know, the housing component and how many people and the family and who's displaced and, you know.
To me,
whatnot.
they're so in tune with how many apartments and units they can make available. If they're building these little compact dorms like you on a college campus or something. These are apartments for people to live in. People grow, their families grow. They, you know,
You
what are you
need
gonna
fit
do
a
in
full
those little
size bed in
spaces?
there.
I'm like,
Yay.
And they also treat renters. They also
Just
treat
the bed.
they treat renters like they're, you know, less than, even though it's like, well,
They're
you
paying
know,
more.
like they're paying more,
Mm-hmm.
and oftentimes they're just as long as homeowners.
Most of
Yes.
these
you know,
rents
and-
are like a mortgage
They're
for
more.
owning a home. That's where I was going. They're more than a mortgage. I'm not gonna pay you $3,000, $4,000 for 1 2-bedroom apartment. I'm gonna rent a house.
And one of the things that I think that would have been ideal in certain areas for us in our district really would be the Michelama, to expand that, because that is based on your
It's
income.
like a dying business. at
So
this point.
it's your income. If you pay $10, this is what you get for your income. You just pay a portion of that. You're not gonna pay $50 for rent, but you get it 10, right? But right now, how everything is structured, no matter how small it is, they're looking for an arm and a leg for as renters. So I think with Suki we can check to see how many coming down the pipe and how many is the state. Based on the state, what's coming down from HCR? Is there anything? Are they going to supervise anything? And see how best we can for our district, you know, not doing with the displacement of people can't afford to live here and whatnot.
See, they get in there with these contractors, they agree to go 8 stories or higher. They're instantly eligible for funding from the state and the Fed to allot a certain amount of apartments for low-income housing. But what they're doing is they're doing like our buildings, we have the 4-block radius. On one side, these are our expensive pay customers, and you can tell the difference. Now on the other side over here, the low-income housing, well, wait a minute, where do they go in? looking trying to figure out where to do it, yeah, you gotta go through it out, exactly.
Yeah, go in the back and pass the
Yeah.
garbage
What
dump
is
and
that?
then run to the basement. Yes, I know. But so if we can just, it would be ideal for us to, set up with Suki and see, what we can get done. Yeah,
I also
together.
think that we should continue to keep reaching out to the elected and keeping them accountable for keeping us abreast of what's coming down or what's being thought of. Because we don't want to be in a situation again where we're running from the right? We want to be able to react proactively instead of
What did you sign, what bill did you sign to them, sign away the rest of our property? How many houses coming down, so at least we have a clue.
Bringing up Suki, they are having subcommittee meetings, and the subcommittee did meet last night. I went to the meeting. You can watch it, I guess, on YouTube. It's kind of hard to hear. Yeah. There was also there was somebody from Borough Hall here who is a land use person, and they brought up this website that's got a lot of great information. It's a map. Equitable Data Development Explorer that is a really great Equitable Data Development Explorer. And through that you can zone in on the map. It gives a lot of data, and it's something that they use, developers use, and they share with the city to see. It's data about racial equity is some of it, census data, and what they're building. And just look at it,
And whatever.
and you'll see it's very informative. And nobody seemed to know about that. I don't know if you all knew about it, but
What is it?
Equitable Data Development Explorer. So, and the subcommittee meetings are very informative, and I know she's had
Equitable Data
She's had
Development
people
Explorer.
from the other committees, people from economic development were coming, so I imagine she would really welcome everybody to come to the subcommittee meetings. Definitely go, it's very informative.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, everyone. I think we can adjourn 5 minutes early.
Yay.
next meeting will be,
Well,
hopefully, the next meeting
Oh, yeah, I pulled it up.
Joan,
when the Euler committee is, but
I already started
we'll
looking
send-
at the neighborhood.
I don't.
That's the first thing you did?
Usually,
Oh, and see how much people are leaving.
usually we are,
Right, this is
usually we're
This is all hands.
I want to see how much longer
second
it's going to
Wednesday,
Because
Wednesday.
it's going to show in
So,
the
and I
demographic.
guess Euler is usually the
When it gets
third
to
Tuesday.
And people can't take it anymore,
Yeah.
you're not making a lot of money. Or they're,
And we can be there, I just wanna
The
make
only thing I'll
sure.
say, she'll have to be better.
I know.
The only thing is I know with the city of this subcommittee, I know she's been running like
She's running,
flying.
yeah, I know.
That's part
yeah,
of
I
it.
think
It's a
the
little
subcommittee
crazy,
meeting,
but yeah.
they're
With all
really
of
good.
it, I think that we need to, all hands on deck.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, thanks. Congrats again to our
Thank you.
new members,
Yay,
who's the new member, your new member?
and Lisa.
yes.
Oh, congratulations. I'm Teresa Westerdahl, I'm an environmental protection commissioner.
Welcome aboard.
Great to see you, I want to add it
Augustine
Making a splash over
saved me. Thank you. What do you say? Kind of.
Thank you.
It really just got.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. By showing
No,
up.
you know what? No, you're welcome, whatever.
Your life was something?